Ever heard of a place nicknamed the Constitution State?
Hmm.
Well, today we're diving deep into why Connecticut earned that title.
Oh, interesting.
Way back in 1639, we'll be looking at excerpts from a piece on the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut. Think of it like America's first written constitution, before the one we know today.
Wow, 1639? That's pretty early. Way before the American Revolution, obviously. Over a century.
Right, we're talking about a time when the idea of self-governance was radical.
Yeah. Almost unthinkable back then.
Okay, so let's paint a picture here. It's 1639 colonial America. Who are these settlers who created the Fundamental Orders?
Well, they were Puritan settlers.
Puritan settlers, okay.
Yeah, they had left England
You think?
seeking religious freedom, primarily.
Hmm.
They wanted to create a new society, shaped by their faith, and this is key, governed by their own consent.
Their own consent.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Keep in mind, this was a time when monarchs ruled by divine right.
Divine right.
Yeah, they believed that their authority to rule came directly from God.
Wow. So to challenge that idea must have been a pretty audacious move.
Absolutely. The Connecticut Colony, they drafted the Fundamental Orders
Okay.
to establish a framework for self-governance
Right.
for the towns of Hartford, Windsor, and Wethersfield.
I see. So those are the main towns we're talking about at this point.
Yes, yes. Imagine the impact of that, of saying, hey, power resides in the people, not in some far-off monarch.
That's a huge shift in thinking.
Yeah.
So this document, as you said, it's considered America's first written constitution.
Oh.
But they didn't just declare ideals,
Well,
right?
no. They laid out a practical system of government.
They did?
Yeah. They established a government
Okay.
with 3 distinct branches.
Oh, wow.
Executive, legislative, and judicial.
So this separation of powers.
Yes, to ensure that no one person or one branch would hold too much power. And that idea, of course, is something that's, a cornerstone of American governance,
Yeah.
even to this day.
It's fascinating to see how this mini version of what would become the United States government was already taking shape back then.
Yeah.
You had the executive branch led by a governor, the legislative branch to make laws, and then the judicial branch to interpret those laws.
Exactly. And here's where it gets even more interesting. They introduced this concept of freemen.
Freemen.
These were, they were male residents
Okay.
who met certain property requirements, and they had the right to elect officials, including the governor.
So not full democracy as we know it today, but...
Exactly. It was groundbreaking, for its time, but it wasn't fully inclusive.
Right.
Women, non-landowners, and, of course, enslaved people were excluded from this freemen status, so they couldn't vote.
That's an important point. It reminds us that the path to, universal suffrage, it's been a long and continuous struggle.
Absolutely. It's a struggle that continues to this day, really.
Right. And speaking of bold moves, Connecticut didn't just stop at, establishing a government by the people. They basically said, we're doing our own thing.
You got it. That's one of the most audacious aspects of the Fundamental Orders. They effectively declared Connecticut an independent colony.
Wow.
They asserted that the colony would govern themselves by their own laws,
Yeah.
separate from England.
That was a seriously gutsy move for that time.
It really was.
It shows their determination to forge their own path.
So how did this play out, in the grand scheme of American history?
Well, the Fundamental Orders, it had a tremendous legacy.
Yeah.
Its principles influenced later colonial charters, state constitutions, and even the U.S. Constitution.
Oh, wow.
Think of it as a crucial building block, in the foundation of American democracy.
Right.
It's no coincidence that Connecticut got the nickname the Constitution State. It makes sense. So we've taken this deep dive into the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut. It was revolutionary, but it had its limitations, as we discussed. What does this all mean for us today?
Well, the thing that's remarkable is how these ideals, things like consent of the governed, limited government power, the separation of powers, these are all things that we still talk about today. They continue to shape our understanding of democracy centuries later.
It really makes you wonder how those early settlers would view the evolution of democracy in the centuries since, doesn't it?
It really does.
What do you think? Did this change your perspective on the origins of American democracy at all? And if you're curious to learn more, we encourage you to check out the full source material for yourself. It's fascinating. It's a glimpse into the roots of American democracy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.